In case you missed it, here's Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.
Good morning, it's Dave and Cheryl. Could you imagine being on an amusement ride that just wouldn't stop? A ride at a spot just outside of New York City just kept going around and around.
So the ride is called the Musical Express, and this is one you might have seen at fairs and carnivals. You go in a circle, you go forward for a little bit, and then you go in reverse with music blaring the whole time. Except at this place called Playland Park, the ride got stuck going backwards at full speed, and the emergency shutoff didn't work.
Oh no, so maintenance workers eventually stopped it. They disconnected the power. Now the ride usually will last 2 to 3 minutes, and it went at least twice that long. A few reports said it was over 10 minutes, but whatever it was, one guy said it felt, quote, like an eternity.
Kids were apparently crying after the ride, parents were upset, but luckily no one was hurt. Now, the park blamed it on an electrical malfunction. They've shut the ride down, and they've now reached out to the manufacturer of the ride to try to figure out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen ever again.
And I mean, this isn't the first story where we've talked about this in recent weeks, too. So earlier this month, 8 people in Wisconsin, they got stuck upside down on a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. And then a ride in North Carolina was shut down after someone saw a huge crack in the support beam. Turns out there was actually 2 cracks when they investigated further.
So years ago, when my kids were little, we went to Santa's Village, and it was kind of a misty, rainy day. So
is that the one up in, where is that?
Bracebridge.
Bracebridge, yes.
So there wasn't a lot of people there, right? And so my middle daughter, who was, I think, 6-ish at the time, wanted to go on this one, sort of like a little, not a roller coaster, but Ferris wheel, kind of like a kid's Ferris wheel thing, right?
Okay.
And so we were going around and around and around and around. And I think maybe because we were the only people there on that ride, the guy thought, I'll just let him go. And finally I went by him like, when is the ride stopping? He goes, oh, you want to get off? Yeah, anytime.
Oh, since no one was coming up to get on, he just never stopped to.
No one was coming up to get on.
He's just like, oh, I'll just let them keep going on until they tell me they want to get off. But you think they would have told you, I'm just going to let you go until you tell me you want to stop.
No, we just kept going round and round. We get off the ride. And my daughter looks up and says, I don't want to go on that ride again. I said, no, I think we got our money's worth and more on that one. Have you ever heard of the phrase brushing? And I'm not talking about your teeth or your hair. It's where online sellers send out stuff to random addresses just so they can boost their sales and 5-star reviews. I've never had that happen where things just show up at the house.
No.
Well, this woman did, but it wasn't anything cool, though.
No, it wasn't fun stuff. Her name is Cindy Smith. She lives in Virginia. And she's recently received more than 100 packages from Amazon. And she didn't order any of it. And unfortunately, it wasn't cool stuff like electronics or air fryers. It was about 1,000 headlamps, 800 glue guns, and dozens of binoculars. Now, she said this would be great if she spent her nights out in the wilderness crafting and stargazing, but she doesn't, so she's giving it all away now.
Packages. I didn't order them. A lot of people told me I was weird. You know, I would drive around with headlamps and glue guns in the car. I gave them to everybody I met. All my neighbors got glue guns or headlamps. I mean, I gave them to dog shelters, to veterinary clinics. I went to Burger King one day. I'm like, I have a gift for you.
She gave the person at Burger King a glue gun. Well, she reported it to Amazon, and they didn't think it was brushing, but they think it's another scam where a foreign vendor sent overstocked and returned merchandise to her because they had to remove it from Amazon's warehouses.
So they just basically dumped the items on her because it was cheaper than having to send it back overseas and then dispose of it another way. So as you heard Cindy say, she's giving the merchandise away to everybody because she doesn't want anything to go to waste. But I mean, 1,000 headlamps and 800 glue guns, I would be reaching out to every single daycare and school in the area and being like, do you need glue guns? Do you do craft projects?
Headlamps. I don't know what you would do with that many headlamps. You might keep a few, I suppose. The binoculars, that'd be kind of cool, again, to keep a few.
Yeah, but you need one pair.
1,000 headlights and 800 glue guns. Brand new month today. It is August the 1st, originally the 6th month of the Roman calendar, which was called Sextilis. So in 8 BC, the emperor at the time persuaded the Senate to change the month's name to Augustus in his honor. So if it weren't for him, today would be the first day of Sextilis today. So happy first day of Sextilis. or August as we know it. And there are a few things coming up this month you can look forward to.
Yeah, lots of things to look forward to. When it comes to TV shows, the third and final season of Physical hits Apple TV Plus tomorrow. Season 2 of Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, will be on HBO starting Sunday. Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building, I'm looking forward to this one. That premieres August 8th. And the final season of Billions will land on the 13th, while the new Star Wars spinoff called Star Wars Ahsoka? I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it or not. I'm sorry, Star Wars fans. That'll be on Disney Plus August 23rd.
In theaters, you've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. That's opening tomorrow. Meg 2, The Trench, arrives on Friday. Also Strays with Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx as disgruntled dogs. That hits theaters on the 18th. I bet you that is going to be great. So does the new DC Comics movie Blue Beetle. And Gran Turismo opens up on the 25th.
Now, when it comes to sports, the NFL preseason actually starts this Thursday.
Wow.
The New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns will face off on NBC. Is that the Hall of Fame game? Isn't that usually the first one? Then everyone else gets started next week. And if you're a tennis fan, the U.S. Open is just around the corner. That is August 28th.
And finally, the holidays, Mondays. So the next Monday is the civic holiday in Ontario, so a day off for many. And it's called different things in different provinces.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like most of the country is going to have that day on Monday.
But some other days to look forward to. This Friday, it's International Beer Day. Yeah, don't mind if I do. August 11th is Hip Hop Day, while the 12th is Vinyl Record Day. The 13th is Left-Handers Day. The 16th is National Rum Day. And August 20th is National Radio Day.
Happy August 1st. Chatham Kent's Country, CFCO. Good morning, it's Dave and Cheryl. If you're old enough, you'll remember a time when you could actually check bags on airlines for free. Remember that? Good old days?
Every once in a while, I'll still see that. You get one free check bag, and I'm like, what?
If you're lucky, right? You didn't have to cram a week's worth of clothes into a carry-on or maybe put on all your clothes. I've seen people doing that too, and these hacks. Mm-hmm. Well, now Japan Airlines wants to free people of that hassle with carry-ons. And you really need a lot of packing altogether. They've launched a new service that allows foreign tourists and business travelers to rent clothes from them for as little as $28 for up to 2 weeks.
It's called Anywhere, Anywhere. And travelers can rent up to 8 outfits in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, in different styles like business casual up to more formal stuff. And you don't even have to pick up the clothes at the airport. They'll be delivered directly to your hotel. Even easier. And you do know what you're getting when you make your reservation because you go online. It's like shopping online, but you pick out which clothes that you want. The clothes will be previously used, but apparently they are thoroughly cleaned, ironed, dry cleaned before they send them back out again. And the service does not include your undergarments.
So you have to bring along your own underwear and bras and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you can easily fit that into, one bag.
Mm-hmm. So you will need to pack a few personal items, but the idea is you can minimize luggage as much as possible. And obviously for them, you're saving on weight on the plane, not maybe using so much fuel.
Well, and for me, I would say it's not so much about the clothes. Can you make it so I can just buy like a toiletry bag and I can pick out all the things in it? Because that's what always gets you, right? You're trying to shove everything into a carry-on, but then you got to open it up and take out all your liquids. So, and they got to be under a certain size, the little shampoo bottles, that kind of thing.
I'm just happy that, you can go through the airport and keep your shoes on. That's a good thing. I think most airports now have relaxed that, where you don't have to take your shoes off. I don't want to see other people's feet.
Yum, science.
It's not rocket science. Check it out. I blinded us with science.
A study has pinpointed the sunniest place in the world, and no, it's not Phoenix, Arizona, although you'd think that after how many days in a row of 115 degrees plus.
31. 31 days in a row of 110 plus.
A plateau in Chile gets blasted by more of the sun's rays than any other spot on Earth. So basically, you'd get sunburned there faster than anywhere else.
In other Earth news, scientists may have finally figured out a way to predict earthquakes. GPS data shows that there is a tiny little slip in the tectonic plates about 2 hours before an earthquake happens. However, the bad news is we're going to need sensors that are about 100 times better than the ones we currently have in order to detect this.
But maybe that'll lead to better sensors and, better ways to detect these things. In space news, an asteroid as big as a 20-story building got closer to us than the moon last week, and no one realized it until 2 days later. So that's great.
So, don't freak about it now.
I mean, that just goes to show you how much is flying around us at any given moment that even scientists are missing it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, NASA's also getting ready to launch a mission to a very valuable asteroid this fall. It's full of so much iron, nickel, and gold. It could be worth an estimated $10 quintillion.
Wow.
Quintillion. I don't even know what that is, but it's a lot.
I know it's a lot of zeros that are probably would be difficult for any of us to count that high.
Although I don't know how are you going to harness that asteroid. We don't have a death ray to freeze it and pull it in.
You need some of these actors that were on some of these space movies to head up there and help out. Hey, California is embracing beavers and creating lush habitats to lure species back into now urban areas to enhance groundwater supplies and also buffer against the threat of wildfires. So an eco-hydrologist, this Dr. Emily Fairfax, was talking about it.
So this is a patch in the landscape that didn't burn at all. And the reason it didn't burn is because beavers have engineered this to be extremely wet and soggy. The beavers can actually change the way that fire moves through the landscape. Instead of just blasting through and burning everything and leaving nothing but ash in its wake, like we're seeing now, the fires would just hit speed bump after speed bump after speed bump.
So it would create some natural barriers and breaks, like they try and do now, right? When they clear out some areas of trees and things like that.
So it helps slow it down, which is great news.
Bring them back. That's Last Week in Science. This is something you normally hear about at airports, maybe. You get to the gate, it's overbooked. They're looking for people that'll take later flights, so maybe they offer you a little cash, some other incentives. Never heard about this at a college, though.
There is a small school in Vermont called Middlebury College, and right now they're struggling with over-enrollment for the fall semester. So they've come up with kind of a unique plan. They're offering upperclassmen $10,000 if they delay their education by a year to ease overcrowding.
So they're paying them not to go to school.
So typically the school has between 2,500 to 2,600 students, but this fall it's going to be closer to about 3,000. And it's not because they accepted too many kids. If you're thinking, oh, well, why is the freshman class so big? It's its normal size. The surge is because there's a bunch of students returning after taking a break during the pandemic. Decided since they didn't want to do virtual classes, so they took a couple of years off, but now they're all coming back at the same time.
Because they were still enrolled, so that would allow them to come back then.
So for now, the $10,000 offer has been made available to juniors and seniors if they take a leave of absence for, the next fall and winter terms. They're hoping at least 30 students take them up on it. And I think this would be a perfect opportunity if you're a student. Say you're already working somewhere because you've taken this time off, you got a job. You're just I'll just keep working for another year and then go back next year.
Deadline is today, so we'll see how many take them up on that enticing offer. Had to get out yesterday afternoon and mow the lawn because it just keeps growing and growing and growing this year.
I was going to say, I thought about this earlier in the week. I was on a scale from 1 to, for the love of God, where are you when it comes to how over or cutting the lawn are you?
I mean, I've got a pretty big backyard, right? I mean, we're lucky enough to have all that space and room, but obviously you want to keep it in shape, and there's a lot of mowing involved. And at the beginning of the year, I'm used to it. 2 or 3 times a week, you're maybe mowing the lawn and blah, 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 front and back. But it's kept up this year because of the weather conditions.
Well, it's been raining so much. Usually by mid-July, especially early August, it's burned. The grass is brown, and you're you're kind of sad, but then you're also great, I don't have to cut it for 4 weeks. It's great.
It gets kind of crunchy, right?
Yeah.
After a while.
Exactly.
Not this year, though. I mean, there was so much moisture yesterday in the lawn. There were a couple of times the mower was doing that kind of thing where it was just a lot of humidity overnight and things like that. You're getting that dew from overnight, and so that's settling into the grass.
Well, I think it was Sunday. I did the trim work and the backyard and some little spots, and then Monday my neighbor went out with the riding mower and they cut all the big strips for me because my neighbors are great. Thanks, Chris and Ann. It already looks like it needs to be cut again though. It's crazy. It's
really popping. I had to clean the mower up before I even started because I was okay, the last time I mowed, it was also a little bit wet. So it's got all that gunk stuck in there.
Yep. Clumps.
The dog starts eating the mix of mud and grass. I turn around and she's like, "Womp, womp." I'm like, get out of it. So I'm grabbing it as she's trying to run away with chunks of it. The neighbors must have thought, what is he yelling about? Because she's trying to eat this stuff, which I'm quite sure isn't necessarily the greatest for their system. But then again, they'll eat rabbit poo, so probably is. Probably adds a little bit of, fiber into the diet or something.
My dog loves eating grass, and people are always like, well, it means that they're sick. No, my dog, there's certain types of grass at certain spots in the yard that he always goes to and eats, just because I think he likes the taste of it.
I'll add this in, though. Yes, they do eat stuff like that. Although, recently, we were making a salad and a couple pieces fell on the floor. I was like, oh, and I picked them up. I handed them to her. She put them in her mouth and went, puh, and spit it out. I'm like, you will eat dirty grass, but just spit out the lettuce. Heading off towards the long weekend where you're planning on sleeping in. Apparently, a new study says you shouldn't do that.
Yes, this new study says irregular sleep schedules can have a negative impact on your gut bacteria, which can then lead to obesity, inflammation, and heart problems.
The researchers found that even a 90-minute difference in the midpoint of your sleep timing can impact your gut.
So just staying up late a couple times a week and sleeping in for a few hours on the weekend can have a big impact. I mean, of course, what you eat and drink also has a big impact on your gut, but the scientists say disruptions to your internal clock also plays a significant role.
I love what this one researcher said. Maintaining regular sleep patterns so when we go to bed and when we wake each day is an easily adjustable lifestyle behavior we can all do that may impact your health for the better. Easily done? I mean, if you've got kids, if you've got people in the neighborhood like the other night that were mowing at 9:30 at night, these are the things that can wake you up and disrupt your sleep.
Well, I'm just thinking about our sort of regular work schedule. I'm sorry, I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday and going to bed at 9 and then taking a nap. I'm going to try to sleep 7-8 hours and go to bed maybe at 10 and sleep in until, whenever my dog wakes me up.
Here's the thing we've heard recently, though. Sleeping more than 9 hours a night raises the risk of a stroke. Sleeping less than 7 hours can lead to heart disease, and even taking naps has been connected to higher blood pressure. So in other words, everything is bad for you.
And now a message from the Everything is Bad for You Institute. Sleeping in on weekends could be bad for your gut health. And here are a few other things that could be bad for you. Coffee, eggs, bacon, Teflon, baby powder, running, sugar, smoking, heroin, the internet, clowns in gutters, smartphones, theme parks, social media. In other words, wrap yourself in bubble wrap and don't eat or drink and don't do anything. This has been a message from the Everything is Bad for You Institute.
What if the Blue Jays could actually get hits with runners in scoring position? They'd be the number one team in all of baseball. How is this team still contending for a playoff spot? Blows my mind, because they seem like they are just terrible because they can't score with runners in scoring position. And again, last night, same thing happened. This whole series against Baltimore was a train wreck.
Oh, they have no idea what to do against the Orioles at all. I mean, they've only won 2-8 against the AL East rivals this season. And I mean, I know they are leading the American League, one of the best teams in the league right now, but
still, when you go 2 for 29 with runners in scoring position, you're not going to win. And they had 12 hits over 4 games?
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. And this coming from someone who has spent decades watching the Detroit Lions lose. And I'm getting frustrated watching the Jays. It's
If they pitch, they can't hit. And if they hit, the pitchers seem to fall apart, as what happened on Tuesday.
Yeah. But one thing that the Jays do have going for them is all their Tuesday home games, they do something fun called Loonie Dog Night, where you can get hot dogs for just $1.
And they sell thousands of them.
I believe they actually have a tracker on the board at the game showing, because they get up to over 30, 40,000 hot dogs sold during a night.
Well, it kind of shows maybe you should do this more often or lower the price a little bit. That being said, Tuesday's game, they got blown away. 13-3, they ended up losing. But then someone was having some fun buying piles and piles of hot dogs and trying to throw them to people.
Apparently, this fan who was wearing an Alec Manoah jersey decided to share the wealth. Apparently, he bought a whole bunch of hot dogs. One person posted that he came with a tray of about 5 to 8 dogs. Couldn't tell, but he tossed each to another fan. And then people got wind of this in the section and started cheering him on every time he threw a hot dog. He was even chucking them up to the 200 section. They were down in the lower bowl.
And they said he was very accurate, too. So he was able to, make it up there to the 200 level. Well, then an usher came over and started talking to him. People started booing. They escorted him into the concourse, and that got people even angrier, and the booing continued.
Well, because there's not much action going on the field. This was the only thing exciting happening on Tuesday night since the Jays lost 13-3.
And then they escorted him apparently out of the game, and the fans weren't happy.
I can only imagine the Jays players were like, bring who back? You want us to bring the pitcher back?
And one of the Jays players started strutting, going, oh, you want to bring Sexy back? I can do that. No, they did not bring him back, as the fans were chanting. And the booing was so loud at one point, you could hear it throughout the stadium. But then again, I was at a game last summer, and one guy was yelling at Shohei Ohtani. He was actually against Manoah, that game we went to. Great pitchers battle. Mm-hmm. And this guy's voice was so loud, it was echoing everywhere. And that's just what he was doing. Ohtani! It was just trying to get him off his game. Mm-hmm. It did not, by the way, get him off his game. He had a great game pitching and hitting that game. But you could hear these boos going all over the stadium. But again, the crowd was very loud. They were getting pounded 13-3, and they just wanted to bring him back.
You've been listening to Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.